Day 115 of the carnivore diet. How much did I lose last week? Hey everyone, if you are new, my name is Karyn, and I have been on the carnivore diet since the first week of July. I am 58 years old, and I have been the classic yo-yo dieter throughout my life, and I've tried just about everything at least once. So if you can relate to that, consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. In this video, we're going to talk about my weight loss and wins over the last week. Then I will show you a little bit of what I have been eating this week. Then I want to share how I made brown butter bites in the oven and a couple of add-ins for that as well. Before I get into the weight loss and wins for this week, I want to let you know that next week I will have been on the carnivore diet for 122 days. So that is my 4-month mark, and I will be doing measurements next week as well as before and after pics. Also on my midweek video this week, I'm going to be talking about how I made some pickled eggs for Dan. A couple of you have been inquiring about how I did that. Dan is on more of a ketovore-like diet, but if you are a carnivore and you eat 1 or 2 of these a week, it is not going to affect your weight loss. So how much did I lose last week? I lost 2.6 pounds. That brings my total to 35.1 pounds. I am almost to my first 50-pound goal, and if I can hit that by the end of this year, I will be one happy camper. I have 4 of those 50-pound goals. And I want to take a minute to thank you for all of your comments on my videos. They are so inspiring and encouraging to read. So thank you. As far as my wins this week, I was thinking about my time a few years ago on intermittent fasting. And it was fabulous, and I learned a lot, and I highly recommend intermittent fasting. If you don't know what that is simply giving yourself a window of time during the day where you can eat. The rest of the time you are just drinking water or black coffee, so there is no snacking involved. It teaches you to control yourself by not snacking, and also that you don't have to have 3 meals a day to be healthy. In fact, you can go for days drinking just water and electrolytes and be just fine. I learned a lot of good lessons on that way of eating that stuck with me from then on. You know, when you try things, you keep certain elements that you like from whatever it is that you tried. So the no snacking between meals and eating in a window of time are the 2 things that stuck with me that I brought with me to this carnivore diet. I realized today that I am 8 pounds away from my total weight loss on intermittent fasting. And while intermittent fasting was good for me, and I could eat anything I wanted as long as it was in that window of time, I did not address what I was eating. And so I stalled out at about 44 pounds of weight loss, and I just couldn't seem to get past that because I wasn't addressing what it was that I was eating within my window of time. So I stalled out on that for about 120 days before I fell off the wagon. So I feel like my big win for this week is addressing what I eat and not just when I eat. And I do combine the carnivore diet with eating 2 meals a day most of the time. I do like to throw in a couple of days of 1 meal a day. I feel like the 2 meals a day lets my body know that I am going to continue to get nutrition, and the 1 meal a day helps me to let my body rest, clear out anything that needs to be cleared out, and gives me 2 sort of lower amounts of eating to help with that weight loss. This week I did 2 days of 1 meal a day. And I was not really hungry. And do you know why? It's because when I did eat, I was filling myself with fuel that would last a long time. Healthy fats, fatty meats, those are the things that will stick with you and satiate that appetite for a very long time. And it's working. I am kind of leery about stalling out again around that 44-pound mark, but we will see if the carnivore diet can help me blow past that. Some of the things that I have been eating this week, I try to avoid dairy most of the time, especially the hard cheeses. I'm not perfect, but I have found that a little bit of sour cream every now and then doesn't really affect me. So one of the meals that I like to have is ground beef mixed with some Cajun seasoning with some sour cream on the top. One night I also grabbed a rotisserie chicken for Dan and I. We just split it in half and had that with some leftover bacon. I had some leftover carnivore pizza that I had made with some fried beef summer sausage slices. If you haven't seen how I made the carnivore pizza, I did that on my video last weekend. So I will link to that at the end and in the description of this video. And then last night I was coming off of one of the 24-hour fasts when I just do my one meal a day. And so my one meal a day for yesterday, we went out after work and I had an 18-ounce prime rib and it was absolutely delicious. Also this last week, for the first time, I made brown butter bites. Everyone on Carnivore seems to love these brown butter bites, so I had to try it. And I can see where these bites would help fight off a craving and where they would be excellent in adding some extra fat to a meal. So I want to show you how I made these in the oven rather than a frying pan on top of the stove. I wanted to try the oven to avoid having to try and fill all those little spaces with hot butter. And I wanted the browned part of the butter to be even in every single one. And then I want to suggest to you 2 add-ins for these brown butter bites that I think would be delicious. I bought a set of silicone candy molds online. I will link to those in the description, and I want you to know that I am not an Amazon affiliate in any way. I just want to share with you some of the products that I'm using. You can use salted or unsalted butter to do this. I used salted, but some people find that using salted butter makes the brown butter bites too salty. And if that would be you, you can use unsalted butter or some combination of unsalted and salted butter. So I let 4 sticks of butter get softened on top of the counter until they were room temperature. Then I put my candy molds on an old cookie sheet and filled each one of those holes with some of the butter. I ended up getting 40 spaces filled, so that would be about 10 brown butter bites per stick of butter. Then I placed this in a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. I pulled them out, let it cool a little bit, then put it in the fridge to get it a little hardened. Then I tested one, and I didn't feel like it had enough browning to the butter. So then I pulled it out of the fridge, let it sit on the counter to get to room temperature again, and put it back in that 350-degree oven for about 10 more minutes. And I feel like one of the ways that you can tell when it's done is if it stops foaming on the top. I think the foaming action releases moisture and then it browns after that. So play around with it to get that timing right for your particular oven. And perhaps 25 minutes in my oven would have been best. I feel like mine came out a little dark, but after putting them back in the fridge to get them hardened a bit before sticking them in the freezer, and then putting them in the freezer, this is what I had. I'm really looking forward to using these brown butter bites on steaks to up my fat content, or even just a little tool to be able to fend off a craving. 2 possible add-ins for these brown butter bites. when you pull them out of the oven and they are still hot, I feel like if you can tolerate instant coffee, maybe some sprinkles of instant coffee into each one of those spaces would be really delicious. Or some bacon pieces would also be delicious in these brown butter bites. So what do you think? Have you tried making brown butter bites? Have you ever used an oven to make your brown butter bites? Let me know in the comments. And I hope your week went as well as mine did. Share how you're doing with me. And did you go out and make something good happen for someone else this week? Let me know that in the comments as well. Have a great week, and I will see you midweek for the pickled eggs video.